I went into 500 Days of Summer with a healthy dose of too cool for school cynicism. The trailers were really hard to read, but I was definitely sure that I was in for some indie rock music and some quirky characters that might appeal to some people who probably didn't like high school. Well, as it turns out, I was dead on the money. Between the alternate-hip cast and the pop culture fetishism and the blatant name-dropping of several much-loved hipster bands, this movie has all the ingredients of an indie flick. Thankfully, it rises above that. I'm happy to report that 500 Days of Summer is actually pretty great. It's charming, it's inventive, it's got a killer cast, and if you like skinny ties and attractive weirdo characters, then it's probably got a soundtrack that you'll like as well. 500 Days of Summer is the first film by music video director Marc Webb, and it's a great debut for him. It tells the story of Tom, played by the excellent Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who grew up listening to sad British music and believes that he'll never be happy unless he finds his one true love. And he thinks he's found it in Summer, played by Zooey Deschanel, who is absolutely perfect for this role. Only Summer doesn't believe in love, and even though she likes Tom, she's all about keeping it casual. This frustrates Tom, and ultimately he becomes heartbroken. She breaks his heart, but that's not much of a spoiler because that happens pretty much right at the beginning of the film. And that brings me to the film's structure. It tells this story in a completely non-linear way, using a counter on the screen to denote which day of the 500 you're currently watching, which works perfectly as the film is essentially one person's reflection on past events, and memory doesn't always run in a straight line, especially when you're heartbroken. On top of this, the editing is fun and energetic and serves the script in some fairly innovative ways. One particularly incredible sequence shows Tom as he's about to go to a party at Summer's house, and the screen splits in two, and on the left side of the screen you've got Tom's hopeful expectations of the night that is to follow, and on the right side of the screen, playing in perfect sad parallel, are the actual events as they happen. Just the idea behind this is brilliant enough, but the execution is 100% spot on. You know, this is probably the most accurate way that the filmmakers could have communicated exactly what Tom is feeling at that moment, and the audience is easily able to relate to what he's feeling, because we've all been in that situation. It's the best thing I've seen in a movie in ages. But the film isn't perfect. As fun and fresh as the script is, it does have its weak moments. In a really neat way, the story's tone shifts around a lot, and it goes from realistic drama to cartoony screwball comedy, but sometimes it pushes a little too far. There's a lot of little chunks in this film that feel more like Saturday Night Live sketches, the ones from like the second half of the show. So they aren't that great, and unfortunately they disrupt the flow of the story. And many of them relate directly to Tom's quirky job as a writer of greeting cards, which predictably sets up some unnecessary and unfunny comedy jokes. Overall, I left this movie really impressed. 500 Days of Summer may have a few hiccups, but it looks great and the cast is fantastic. And it has a really neat story that it tells in a really neat way. I highly recommend that you see this movie, and I give it 8.3 out of 10.